Long live independent film. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Well, I didn't see that coming. The 97th Academy Awards were billed as one of the most unpredictable in recent memory, and rightly so. Apart from the supporting actor categories, many of the night's biggest awards, Best Picture, Best Original Screenplay, Best Actor and Best Actress, were wide open. But in the end, the night belonged to an authentically independent filmmaker from New Jersey. Sean Baker and Anora swept the Oscars, winning Best Editing, Best Original Screenplay, Best Director and Best Picture. I knew he was a contender, but to win all four? Incredible. He's now the first person in history to earn 4 Oscars for a single film, and the achievement is even more inspiring given that his winning film Anora, a $6 million indie, feels like a pure extension of his artistic vision, not a compromise for success. Then came Best Actress, the most anticipated award of the evening. In a somewhat surprising turn, breakout star Mikey Madison won, making it 5 wins out of 6 for Anora. This left Demi Moore, the ultimate Hollywood comeback story, empty-handed despite dominating awards season for The Substance. Unsurprisingly, backlash followed. Many fans felt Moore was robbed, especially given The Substance's themes. But was she? Or did the Oscar go to the rightful winner? Let's take a closer look at both actresses and their performances. Now, the first time I saw Mikey Madison, like a lot of us, was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Right there. A pale-faced member of the Manson cult.
I remember your white little face.
And then again, here, in the film's very Tarantino-esque climax. A good performance, though mostly memorable for how it ended, or how she was ended. But then she popped up again in the Scream reboot as Amber Freeman, the newest Ghostface killer in the franchise, and this performance had more independence from its role in the story. But once again, she met a similar fate. Turns out, if you want a leading role, dying by fire, twice, might be the way. Just ask Sean Baker.
We went to see Scream opening weekend, and that's where I saw Mikey. And I had already been so intrigued by her from seeing her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So it was just a combination of those two performances. I knew she was our Annie.
When writing Anora, Sean Baker already had his muse.
And I offered her the role. And then I said, if you take this role, I'll go write the screenplay with you in mind. And that's what I did.
The result? A brilliant film anchored by an even more brilliant lead. Mikey Madison, in a career-defining performance. A modern-day Cinderella story, Anora follows Annie, a 23-year-old Russian-American erotic dancer. She's no-nonsense, very Brooklyn, and instantly likable.
I know. I got dollar signs like a real hoe. No, but you're manifesting with those.
Her half-embraced heritage gets her involved with a new client, Ivan, or Vanya, the boyish and chaotic son of a Russian oligarch. What starts as a transactional fling spirals into a whirlwind romance, and eventually an impromptu Vegas wedding. But when Vanya's parents find out, they dispatch a couple of hilarious Armenian goons and a surprisingly gentle Russian to shut it down. I came into this film not knowing anything about it and was blown away. Forgive the old cliche, but it's a film that will make you laugh a lot.
Your Honor, clearly, my husband is intoxicated right now. He is
Your Honor, objection. She shouldn't be talking, sir.
I am
intoxicated.
And it will make you cry. It's compelling and charming from the very beginning and full of a warmth, genuine intimacy, and a feeling of hope despite the heartbreak. And as ever with Sean Baker, Anora is a film about us, about the lives on the margins we often overlook, told with an honesty and a compassion to help us understand and see our shared humanity. Anora isn't just Sean Baker's most popular and palatable film, it's the culmination of 25 years of humanist filmmaking. An achievement honoured with the Palme d'Or at Cannes and a completely dominant performance at the Oscars. When I said the key to landing a leading role in Hollywood is dying by fire, twice, I was only half joking. For Mikey Madison, the way she fully embraced her fiery fates in past roles proved to Baker that she had that all-or-nothing intensity essential for his Annie. And he was proved more than right because Madison's fierce commitment to the role produced a performance that was magnetic.
I didn't want any stone to be left unturned. I wanted to know this character like inside and out completely. So I did months of dance training. I went to live in Brighton Beach. I wanted to get a sense of the community. And then also...
But what's most impressive, in my opinion, is how she embodied a character with such fierce determination and fight, while still maintaining a subtlety and emotional vulnerability. And I think this is largely because Madison and Baker were so in sync about the essence of her character. Sean Baker has built a career telling human stories about those on the margins of society, particularly sex workers.
So my hope is this: these are stories that that humanize sex workers, but also they're universal stories applied to sex work. So I hope audiences can sort of connect and identify, and therefore hopefully that leads to empathy.
Mikey Madison approached the role of Annie with the same depth of compassion and understanding.
by people just because of what she does for a living, just because of what they have sort of like branded her as, which isn't who she is. She's a person.
At the heart of the film is the captivating dynamic between Iga, played by the brilliant Yura Borisov, and Annie. Both characters have fallen into careers shaped by traditional gender roles. Iga, as a man, channels his physicality into being a thug or some muscle, while Annie, as a pretty woman, navigates the world through her work as an erotic dancer. This shared experience of being defined, in part, by societal expectations creates an unspoken connection between them, one that unfolds in the film's final two acts and reaches its emotional peak in a heartbreaking closing scene. Madison, with an astonishing vulnerability, makes it unforgettable. As Willem Dafoe said, every once in a while you see a performance that makes you sit up, pay attention, and fall in love. Such is Mikey's performance in Anora.
Hello, angels.
The first time I saw Demi Moore was in Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, a film I actually watched a lot as a kid, purely because it was on DVD at a holiday home we visited. A victim of circumstance. Great film, though. By 2003, Moore was 40 and coming down from her 90s superstardom when she was Hollywood's highest paid actress. But, as is often the case in the industry, age eventually became an obstacle. Add to that high-profile marriages and divorces, raising 3 children, and battling addiction rooted in a traumatic childhood, and her career gradually faded from the spotlight. For the past 2 decades, Moore has taken the occasional role, but remained far from her former fame. That changed last year when French filmmaker Caroline Fargeat cast her in The Substance, an audacious body horror project that reignited her career and proved her worth as far more than a popcorn actress. On modern-day Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, The Substance follows Elizabeth Sparkle, a former Hollywood star turned fitness icon desperate to reclaim her youth.
I'd like to order.
Injecting a mysterious drug, she sheds her aging body and literally births a younger, more perfect version of herself.
I'm Sue.
But the two must share one existence, alternating every 7 days. Things get sticky when Sue refuses to give up control, and their battle spirals into grotesque chaos, culminating in the creation of something even more terrifying. The Substance is relentlessly gross. It's heavy on the visceral imagery of flesh, food, and transformation, fueling its nightmarish descent into obsession and decay. The stripped-back world that Fargeat creates sharpens its social satire, tackling Hollywood's impossible beauty standards and society's fixation on youth at any cost. Despite feeling nauseous throughout, I thought this film was very good. The script is tight and super vivid, well deserving of Best Original Screenplay at Cannes. The cinematography, production, and sound design effectively heighten its stylized, unsettling reality.
Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself?
There's debate around the film's message, whether its hyper-stylized, blood-soaked visuals critique beauty standards or if its excessive aesthetic undermines its feminist message, turning it into a spectacle rather than a meaningful commentary. While I agree it can feel heavy-handed at times, Fargeat's intention was never to be subtle.
I really wanted to make a big scream, a big kick, in the system the way it is, and the idea was to say, come on, wake up, we need a change.
Whether that weakens the film's message is subjective. I believe its central points remain relevant and impactful. What's not up for debate is the acting. It's terrific all round. Dennis Quaid embodies the industry's hypocrisy and misogyny, while Margaret Qualley balances youthful allure with unchecked aggression. And at the heart of it all is Demi Moore, delivering a career-reviving performance. Even if the film was criticised for lacking nuance, the same cannot be said for Moore's portrayal of Elizabeth Sparkle. She fully commits to the role, delivering a performance that is layered, authentic, and emotionally raw. As well as capturing the required intensity, Moore is excellent in portraying the subtle side of her character. The micro-expressions, the slight shifts in tone. As in real life, it's often the smallest details that reveal the most about a person, and this aspect of Moore's performance impressed me the most. The best example of this is in the film's most powerful and painful scene, when Elizabeth is getting ready for a date in front of her bathroom mirror. After being reminded of her younger counterpart Sue, she glances back at herself. At first, there's just a flicker of pain in her expression, a quiet dissatisfaction she's barely keeping beneath the surface, but the longer she lingers, the more it takes hold. When she pulled herself away for the second time, I was silently begging for her to walk out the door, making it all the more heart-wrenching when she returned, now consumed by a frantic desperation. That starkly relatable experience, staring into the mirror and seeing only flaws, is captured by Moore with remarkable restraint and vulnerability. And of course, there's also the significant point that Demi Moore has faced much of the same prejudice and ageism in the entertainment industry as Elizabeth Sparkle.
To first meet with Demi, I think the theme in itself was what we needed to discuss less, because it was clear in 5 minutes that it was something we had both lived strongly in our lives in different ways.
Moore had not only experienced the weight of Hollywood's beauty standards, but had confronted the resulting self-hatred and understood it for what it was. The ideal balance between understanding Elizabeth's pain and having enough emotional distance to fully commit to the role. So what we have now is an interesting comparison. Two actresses who bring their characters to life with striking authenticity, driven by compassion for the roles they inhabit. One is a seasoned performer, drawing from her own experiences as a woman in Hollywood, while the other is a rising talent, guided by her insightful director and committed to fully understanding her character's world. And I think this is where a difference emerges. Demi Moore brings a lived-in authenticity to Elizabeth Sparkle, drawing from her own experiences to inhabit the role. Mikey Madison, on the other hand, had no such personal reference point. Her performance demanded a deep level of research and emotional investment to portray Annie with honesty and depth, and arguably, the latter is a more impressive achievement, resulting in an overall more complete performance. Moore's turn as Elizabeth Sparkle is undeniably powerful. Her performance carries this effortless authenticity. She doesn't need to stretch far to occupy Elizabeth's world because she's lived aspects of it. This gives her a natural presence, allowing her to seamlessly navigate the required emotional vulnerability. But she had to really challenge herself with the physicality that the body horror genre demanded, something she'd never done before, and she smashed it, literally. Mikey Madison also delivered incredible physicality in Anora, performing the majority of her own stunts, while also having to reinvent herself in a way that was not required of Moore. Mikey had a middle-class upbringing in the San Fernando Valley, with 2 psychologists for parents and a passion for horse riding. Now 25, she's a laid-back, soft-spoken and thoughtful young actress, the practical opposite from Annie. She didn't just have to create her own reference point for the chaotic life of a young sex worker, she also had to channel this fight and fast-paced hustle that was so unnatural to her own character. When comparing Mikey and Demi's performances, 2 other points were significant in my mind. The first is the ending of both of their respective films. If the substance was criticised for being a bit on the nose throughout, well, the ending is right on the bloody schnozzle. And I know this was Farjar's intention, but I left the theatre feeling maybe just a tad underwhelmed. Whereas for Anora, Baker's ending is the most powerful and truthful part of the film, in the sense that both of these endings feel like a culmination of the central character's journey. The fact that Annie's ending is stronger than Elizabeth's ultimately changes my perception of the overall performances. And I think the final point is this. There are sometimes performances that you just connect to. You can't necessarily explain why, but for some reason you just feel and completely believe in that character. I think Mikey Madison gives one of those special performances in Anora. Demi Moore in the substance is so good. It's such an impressive performance, but I didn't have that same connection. So in some ways, we have two actresses made for their respective roles. One destined by their past experiences and with a point to prove, and the other with the potential to tell a new story, perfectly. And despite any other narratives going on, a Hollywood comeback story, or minting a new generation, I think this time, the Oscar for Best Actress went to the rightful winner.